Welcome to the Road is Dead podcast. My name is Rob Curtis. I am joined here in the podcasting studios at CIMET LLC. I am joined by...
My name is Tim.
My name is Leah.
And we're back doing a podcast. We haven't done one. I checked. It was May. We haven't done one since May.
We all know you've been dying to hear our voices.
Actually, I did get a lot of comments from a lot of people saying, hey, when are you going to do the next one? For a short while, and now no one cares. So,
exactly.
It's been a busy summer, running around, racing bikes.
Oh, I should probably put that.
Doing all the things.
Yeah, I did a lot of riding this year, and that was kind of why I wasn't really kind of in the mood to do a podcast for the most part. Let's face it. I mean, if I'm not in the mood to do a podcast, we're not doing a podcast. If either one of you guys is not in the mood to do a podcast and I invite somebody else on.
That's true.
No, you don't.
You've never
No,
done
I
that.
don't.
You don't. Straight up.
No, sometimes when you can't make it, I'll get somebody else usually.
No, you don't.
Or I did one with Leah alone. That doesn't sound right. Never mind.
Yep.
So anyway, here we are at the end of the road
over?
season. We're at the end of the road season.
Yeah.
I would say at this point, this is what is today's date? August 22nd, my wife's birthday, and we're at the end of the road season. How did it work for you guys? I know, Leah, you really wanted to do a lot of road racing this year. How'd that play out for you?
It did really well, honestly. I was a little nervous coming into it this year. I mean, every year I march a little bit higher in age, and I don't know how much longer I can keep up chasing around the youngins, since there's no masters racing. So I raced the Cat 2-3 women's races through Toad. So that was, I'm wearing my t-shirt today, my Tour of America's Dairyland. 6 days of racing there, and I felt my confidence grow each day, which was kind of the point of doing it, was to see how my body would respond, and whether or not I was really going to contemplate doing all 10 days at Chicago Grit. Anyway, that went really well, and so I did all of Chicago Grit, and I made it through well. I kind of fell apart mentally on the last day, and exited. I did all 10.
Nice.
I exited early in the last race and went and had a little visit with my emotions off to the side. But it was kind of a beautiful thing. It was like a big release. It was hard to keep the mental fight going. I was like, my body felt fine, but like I just had no desire to keep pushing it anymore. But yeah, so that was a lot of racing for this 56-year-old lady.
That happened to me once during Intel. I went for all 10 and I lost my shit on like the 9th day.
Yeah.
Back when I think Glen Ellen was towards the end of the series, I lost it. I was just like, I can't. I had a fucking mental breakdown. It's terrible, but it happens. 10 days, like Leah said, 10 days is a ton of racing to do, especially when you're kind of doing it all on your own. You're racing for yourself. Not necessarily saying that you were,
right?
But
back in the Super Week peak days, wasn't it 3 weeks at one point? Like 2.5
That's
weeks?
back when road was big.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a lot of days. Now, granted, they would have rest days every now and then.
Yeah.
I know they would have a midweek rest day, even in the last few years that they had it. Probably because they couldn't find a venue with those guys, but
Mm-hmm.
No, so I get it. Stringing all those along. Tim, you also raced.
I did. I didn't do a lot of racing in the spring for whatever reason. It's just like races came and I debated them and was like, nah, for whatever reason, I just didn't do them. And then, with Chicago Grit, there's really no reason not to, because basically every venue's almost within riding distance of my house. So there's really no reason not to, especially when there's 10 days of competitive racing right outside your front door. So I jumped in, zero expectations, and just, got back in the crit scene like I did last year. And then this year was fun. It's go fast, turn left. Watch out for the sketchy people and try to survive. I did 8 of the 10 days. which is more than enough for me. I'm not going to go into the city, and I just, you need a break here and there. Yeah, so it was good. It was good. I think I think I was in the lead. I was in the lead because for the overall, because at the default, a lot of the guys left in the Masters field and went to nationals. So kudos for Chicago Grit and USAC and all the other scheduling conflicts that were involved with that. But yeah, they
that
all
seems like a you're being facetious.
Whatever the big word is. Yeah, sure. We'll go with that. Yeah, so they left. I had opportunities to win. I won a stage, but there's kind of like an asterisk behind it. Yeah, so it was fun. Opted not to go on the last day to seal the deal for the overall. I chose to race mountain bikes instead because, let's face it, going downhill fast and making dirt bike noises is way funner than sitting in a pack of Masters racers.
Okay, Brad Dash.
Call me what you want.
He makes all those noises as he's riding.
I don't make them when I'm racing. I make them when I'm out there riding by myself. But it's way funner.
Yeah, I can see that.
So yeah, I mean, it was a good time. It was sad to see that participation numbers were less in all fields across the board, maybe except for the pro fields, which I get. But like I said earlier, that I think there was a lot of scheduling conflicts, and I think a lot of people in general were just burnt out. You had mountain bike nationals a week earlier, you had track nationals, you had all sorts of other national championships, not to mention all the other national crit series that were going on earlier in the year. So by the time grit rolls around, people are like, I'm kind of tired, and then they want to, if I'm an all-in crit dog, I'm going to skip grit to get my last licks at Gateway.
Yeah, I can see that. Gateway's what, this weekend, next weekend?
It's coming up.
Weekend,
it's
Labor
coming
Day
up.
Weekend.
I've done Gateway, and it's a great series. It's a great 4-day series. Big draw in all the fields, so I get it. But hopefully next year there won't be any conflicts in scheduling, and grit will be big again.
Do you think it's just the conflict? I mean, because
I think it has something to do with
Toad
it.
was pretty good, right? Toad numbers were good.
Toad's always good.
Yeah, my fields were huge.
Well, it's also like for the Midwest, it's like the first big national series of the year. Everyone's been training all spring. Mm-hmm. They finally get to like race. So that's always going to be big.
Yeah, no,
numbers were good at Lake Bluff, though, weren't they? Seemed like
that's an ACC race.
Yeah,
they were better than they were the rest of the week, but still
How about
way
Sunday?
way
I didn't
lower
go Sunday.
than usual. Yeah, I mean, it was still about a third of what we had last year.
Really?
A third to a quarter of what we had last year.
Downtown?
I would say, for my
Oh,
races.
yeah, no, okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
I was thinking more spectators.
I mean,
and everything
Saturday
else.
is always probably the biggest field every year. Whether you're talking about 22 or 62 people in your field.
Lake Bluff is always
it's always going to be the biggest
always one. Big. That course is awesome. The community is awesome. It's hyped up because it's usually on the ACC calendar. It's good pavement. There's a lot of good things. It's in a nice area, so it's always going to be a big draw. Versus like Elgin on a Wednesday.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I thought the ebb and flow of the field sizes followed normal patterns. It's just that the total field size for my racing, and I think for your Masters, I mean, it was way, way, way lower. I didn't notice or pay attention to the other categories, but I'm assuming it was similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed that way. Pro races were kind of small for a lot of those days. Pro women's race was really small, in my opinion. For almost all of it. Schneider's came out from Elgin on. I'm wearing, for those that are paying attention or watching it, I am wearing my Elgin race shirt. I was able to pick up an old version of it. They have a bunch of old ones they were selling. We did notice that the organizers for that got sat down and had a long talk during it.
Organizers for what?
For Elgin. They were all sitting down, and Schuler had a very long talk with them
About what?
Don't know, but you could assume it was because it was kind of like a ghost town. But
I could tell you, I mean, the community, if the community doesn't want to come out, you can't force the community to come out. That course is hard.
Yeah.
It's not going to draw the, the crit boy that just wants a flat four corner.
It's hard enough that now, in my opinion, it's finally kind of come to fruition after a few years of doing that.
It's probably
course,
gone.
where people are like, they just don't want to show up because of the course. They think it's too hard.
Which is a shame, because for me, I don't think that course is hard.
I haven't raced it. I can't say anything.
It
doesn't look too hard. It definitely doesn't look as hard as East Dundee.
East Dundee's not even hard.
But if you had to put the two side by side, I'm definitely never racing East Dundee because of the hill. I'm just not doing it. And the hill in Elgin doesn't look it's not as bad. Is it?
No, I mean, you can generally carry quite a bit of speed through that bottom turn that it launches you most of the way up the hill as it is. The only thing that's a little bit challenging at Elgin is once you get up the hill, then you've got a long false flat.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
kind of like an East Dundee.
It's a much longer hill.
Yeah. So, I mean, I didn't have a good race there, but this is the first time I think I've done that course.
I wouldn't say Elgin is necessarily done because they do actually have money. And they do actually keep it going, although we were told this year their beer didn't show up that is usually donated to them that they sell, and then they get that money to run the series the next time. But there's no one to sell beer to there towards the end. We bought as much as we could.
I will say, other than the Lake Bluff turnout, I think for me personally, based off of what I saw or felt, even one of the best turnouts is Brookfield. I didn't race that.
That was a great race.
I didn't race that one last year. I raced it this year, and that course is fantastic.
Yeah.
That should be what a crit course is like. I think it had like 6 corners. It's flat. But a long start finish straight. But it's fair. It's a fair course, and the crowd was really, really good. That was a great venue. Was it 5 corners?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The first year they were there, it seemed like there were a lot of wrecks. Now, granted, it did rain the first year. It rained.
I mean, I could see
last
that.
year it was a little wet in the morning, and I think it dried out.
Did it rain this year? I can't remember.
Nope. It was bone
It
dry.
threatened to.
It was in the forecast, but I think it was early and then dried up.
Yeah. I mean, I raced at 4 o'clock and it was dry.
There was only one wreck that I remember seeing this year, and it was in the pro race, and it was in the last lap on the one corner, and it was just because people got in the wrong place.
That's in any pro race.
Yeah.
That's going to happen.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it was horrible. So I like it. The course is really interesting. I haven't raced it, obviously, but I was in the pace car.
Great course.
Your husband was driving the pace car. I jumped in the pace car, and I was in there for the Cat 2 race, and had a blast with that.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. I like the course. I like everybody that's associated with doing it.
I think in its totality, when you look at day 1 to day 10, it's for whatever type of racer or crit racer you are, it's completely a fair. It's fair. There's something for everybody, which would be a shame if they took out West Dundee or Elgin. Just because you can't climb, that doesn't mean that's the venue's fault.
I don't think anybody's going to take out anything. It's just more of a matter of whether or not the organizers in those areas can afford to put on.
It's 2 years in a row that the Elgin race has been shit on.
Well, it was
the storm. The
storm
2
happened
years ago, and then this year participation was low. So that's 2 years in a row. I liked Elgin when it was the circuit race.
Yeah. It's too hard to do that. The neighborhood shut that down.
Yeah. I mean,
but I did like. I think you're referring to that as the circuit race, but it's the crit they had before this one. They had a different course.
I remember. I raced it.
And then they put that little downhill thing in.
It was like a 5-miler.
But then, there was a circuit race. They had a crit course. Then they had this crit course. And before the circuit race, they had an actual road race. That was a long circuit race.
Yeah.
Longer than the 5-mile.
That's the one I'm talking. The one where you bomb down the big hill.
Yeah.
Turn right. Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
And go up Trout Park and all that.
That was legit.
Yeah. That's a hard race. It's horrible for spectators though, because you see everybody once every 15 minutes or so.
Still more than a gravel race.
Well, who's going to spectate a gravel race?
Hey, there are those people. They're out.
I do like gravel races though.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was good. I thought it was good. It's always fun to jump in and be competitive with your peers.
All right, that's road. You guys done with road so far? I think.
Oh yeah.
All
I
right.
had toyed around after, like immediately after Grit was over, like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to Gateway, and then that easily faded like within 2 days.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want to be racing. I don't want to be racing road at the end of August, beginning of September. My brain switches to off road. It's like, plus our local 3-race mountain bike series comes up, and I want to do that more than I want to race road. And
Which, by the way, you've placed second and you've won one of those, or 2 in. Third one's on Sunday.
yeah,
Nice.
Yep.
So, good luck.
thank you.
Hope for the best.
Yeah.
After Intelli was the Little Apple gravel race. That was
I was not there for that. I
That
was
was my-
attending a wedding.
5 minutes to
Yeah.
not shine.
Why don't you go in and discuss your grandiose plan and how it all went
I had
down?
no grandiose
Oh,
plan.
yes, you did.
Oh,
You
there was
certainly
a plan.
had a plan.
There was a plan centered around Rob. I don't think it was Rob's plan.
It wasn't my plan, and I wouldn't say it was grandiose.
I told him to suck it up and go along with it.
Right?
I kept, because okay. So what happened was
What happened
we were getting ready to register. Our people were starting to register for the race. I knew I was going to do the race, and I asked Anthony what he was registered for, and he said the 67 or whatever route, the 100K route, 62 and a half. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to do that distance. I think I want to do the short distance, because it's always harder out there when you actually go and do it than when you're sitting at home looking at the computer screen and thinking about it, And I know enough to remember that, to go, you know what? Let me just do the short one. Let's just try to, I've been riding a ton, so let's just do the short one faster this year.
Right.
So that was my plan. I said that to Anthony, and he goes, yeah, you're right. You should, he goes, I'm going to switch and I'm going to do it with you. So we switched. And then he sat there and he started going through the data, and he's like, hey, last year, Kevin Klein won, and their average speed was like 18. He goes, we can do that. Like, maybe. I go, I can't. I definitely can't. He goes, yeah, you can if you just suck wheels the whole time. He goes, you've never been on a podium. Let's try to get you on a podium. Whatever, dude. I was never committed to the idea of me getting on the podium, I think, because I think in my heart I knew I wasn't going to do it. But, he kept talking and recruiting and all of a sudden it became Project Curtis.
Yeah.
How many people were on that? You ended up doing it. He talked to you into it during Intelli.
Well, you guys were talking about it in Intelli, and I was like, that sounds like fun. I've already won the 100K, so yeah, I'll do that. I'll go all in for that. So It sounded like fun. I kind of invited myself and then shit on the party.
Well, I wouldn't say you shit on it, but it's kind of hard to shit on a party when there's no party.
If you know, you know.
So, so it was you, Anthony, Kenny joined in, Justin,
Billy?
Jeff. Billy didn't end up going. Or no, did he? He was going to.
Oh, he had a car
happened.
problem. That's
Yeah.
Jeff and Jeff's work friend.
Yep. Yeah. And then there's somebody else I know I'm missing. My apologies if you're listening. But we had the largest group out there on our team. The second largest group was obviously Triple X. They showed up again with the same guys: Joe Ponio, Kevin Klein. Who else?
I don't know.
Anyway, we had a plan, so to speak, because I was just like, hey, I can't last, and I definitely can't last if I don't warm up. And we were rolling around beforehand. I told you, and I told a couple of the other guys that were there, I was like, I go, whatever we do, don't set the pace at the start. If somebody else is going to set it, then we just follow them. Luckily, we start, and Anthony is on the front, very front, with a junior who's never done it before. And Anthony kept going, yeah, no, remember they said neutral rollout, so we got to do the neutral rollout.
Is that what he's telling the
yeah,
kid? I
'cause
wondered what they were
Anthony-
what they were talking about.
Anthony was like, Rob's going to die if we don't do a neutral rollout. Because I told him like 20 times, we have to do a neutral rollout. Otherwise, I'm screwed. And neutral lasts until you make it past the little tight bridge.
Yeah.
But he was able to keep it kind of going all the way to the gravel, which is another, half a mile or something like that. Maybe a mile.
Mile and a half, maybe.
So then we turn onto the gravel,
Yeah.
and then that's when everything started to kind of go like we knew it would. And I was kind of hanging in there and doing okay. And then somehow you ended up on the front. You floated up and said something to me, I think. And then you kind of went to the front and we're hanging out with Anthony. And then you did not hammer.
No.
You just took the volume knob and just turned it slowly.
I went from like 5 to a 7.
Yeah. A 7 for you is like 86 for me,
No. Well, Anthony was on the front with that junior kid, and then we turned onto the gravel. Well, the junior kid kept like looking over his shoulder. I didn't know who he was, and I'm like, this dude is nervous.
Yeah, he was waiting for people to come around.
I was like, oh my God.
I was waiting for people to come around.
I was sitting next to Justin. I'm like, look at this kid. He's so nervous right now. And I was telling Justin, giving him a couple pointers. I'm like, drink now while we're going slow, eat now while we're going slow, blah, blah, blah. And then we turned on the gravel, and you said it. We had the numbers, right?
Yeah.
Nobody is going to do anything if we have the numbers, right? So I just got on the front and started riding my bike. And I'm like, I'm trying to look over my shoulder to make sure you're still in the group. I can see you. All right, I can still see Rob. Everything's good. We were on. I think we turned south onto the gravel. I think. I looked at my Garmin and I was like, okay, 5 miles to the next turn. I was like, I got this, no problem. I'm going. Everything's fine. Rob's still there. And then I'm just rolling, and I looked down, and we were going uphill, and I looked at my computer, and it said 24 miles an hour. And I'm like, oh, that's bad. I got to slow down. So I slowed down. Everything came back together. And then there was we made a left-hand turn after that. We made a right, and then a left, and then Justin crashed, and then it all started to come undone.
Okay, so my take on that, around where you said you looked down, that's probably where I hit my max heart rate for this year.
I believe it.
And I was dying. I was like, I can't do this. Who was I kidding? But I tried to stay with it.
Yeah, you did for a while,
and then
right when we crossed that one road,
and then and then the first turn off of the first turn that's gravel turn is a turn back east or west.
Yeah,
and we were approaching that, and we had let a smaller group kind of go off.
Mm-hmm.
And because you were like, you could tell I couldn't handle it, so you stepped it back, and we let other riders come around. I turned around and looked; there was no one behind us.
No.
So we had already cut off like half of the people in the race, maybe a quarter of them, a third of them.
Where did the chew your stem part come in?
Very soon after that. So
I was kind of a.
I look up the road.
Kind of a dick.
I look up the road.
That was the day before in a text message I sent him.
I was like, there's the turn, and there's a group up the road. I could see them, and I yelled out. I was like, right turn, and you guys are like, yeah. Y'all knew. But apparently, the group that had gotten around us just kept going up the road. That had Kevin in it. Brad Erickson is the other guy.
Anthony was in it.
Anthony was in it. So was Jeff, and they all missed the turn and went up the road. Now, they all are acting like they put, 3 more miles on there. They didn't. They went a little bit up there. They turned around. They came back. But it was enough time for us to get back in front of them.
Yeah.
And we stayed in front of them for a very long time, even with me dying. But, every time he would just come back, and, I would get on his wheel, and then he'd go, all right, just chew your stem, man. Just chew your stem. You'll get through it. And I was like, man, I ain't got no teeth ananymore.
I think you were like, you said something, you're like, I can't. And I yelled, I was like, yes, you can. I was like, just do it.
For the record, I can't.
I'll start to get mad, and I'm like, I gotta stop.
Oh no, I totally get it, and I understand, but God
damn it, we're out here for a reason.
I was doing almost everything that I could. I'm sure that I could have dumped a bit more, but you have that in the back of your head. It's still a 30-mile, race or whatever.
Yeah.
But we hung out there for longer than I thought I would. I stayed in it for more than I thought I would. Justin went down, and I was like, ugh, hoping he wasn't hurt. I almost thought, I was almost like, yay, my excuse to stop.
No, he
and
was
you were
fine.
like, keep going, I got him.
Yeah, and I dropped all. Yeah, I told you to keep going. I dropped all the way back, picked him up, made sure he was good. Like he didn't fall. Luckily, derailer side, so
Yeah,
he was fine. He just kind of like
and he was doing good.
I was worried
well.
because it was a slow fall.
Yeah,
and I was like, ooh. So he said he was all good. We kept on. I brought him back, and then soon after that, it was that stretch where we crossed a policed intersection. And then it got really bumpy and thick, and that's where you were like, oh, I'm done.
Yeah, that when it was so bumpy and thick, and when you're for me, when I was falling wheels, and that bike for some reason wants to really spring when it goes over stuff. So I was just floating all around.
Yeah.
And it was taking everything just to focus and concentrate on where I was and what was going on, not hitting anybody. I ran into somebody that was in front of me. I ran into somebody like 2 or 3 times. But just kept it up, just, kept bumping wheels. And I was like, but I was petrified to get more than 6 inches off of a wheel if I was following it.
Yeah.
And then if I did, I was like, fine, screw it, and I'd almost sit up at that point. And it's so mentally taxing at that point. Then to add on top of it, the absolute most beautiful person in the face of the planet, nicest, kindest individual who sacrificed everything to be there that day as well, too, likes to really talk while we're riding. And I can't handle that a lot of times, but when I am completely on the limit and you have the ability to ride next to me on gravel at that speed and talk through full sentences, paragraphs, tell stories, sing songs, everything. It just
all of that.
It is just soul crushing, just soul crushing to ride next to that. So,
he's going to listen to this.
I know.
We had a nice conversation while we were waiting for you.
Yeah,
side by side.
So that's Kenny, obviously, but Kenny, would float back and ride with me for a bit, float back, ride with me for a bit, then ride away. Then you guys were riding for a bit, and then I was finally to the point where it was like, all right, I'm definitely not coming back in this. You guys go do something, and have fun with it. And that's what I had yelled at one point. I don't know if you heard me or not. You probably didn't.
No.
But I think you were like, okay, I don't think you like having conversations a whole lot when you're in the middle of the race either.
No.
So you just kind of took that as a cue and took off.
I just kind of slowly I was by myself. I think we made the turn and we were more than halfway. So we were like mile 14. We were 14 through 16 or whatever. Cause I looked at my Garmin and I'm like, okay. I was a little ahead of you and Kenny. I looked back, Kenny was bringing you back, and Kenny just kind of like, I looked back at him and he kind of just gave me that flick, like, go ahead. So I'm like, all right, I'll go ahead. And then I just did my thing.
Yep. And that thing included catching everybody and winning, but not to gloss over that.
No big deal.
Yeah, no, it ended up going really well. Those guys eventually ended up catching me, coming around me, but then they stopped at the water stop. I was able to get by them, but then they got around me again. I still ended up finishing 12th, I think, overall, which for me was like, that was every goal that I had times 2. I just kind of wanted to finish it a little faster, and I ended up finishing it a lot faster, like a half an hour faster, 40 minutes faster than the last time I did it. So
see, that's a win.
Goals achieved, and you ended up on the podium. So
yeah.
Can't complain. But it was funny that I thought Anthony was in front of us.
Well, I thought the same thing too. For the longest time, I saw them make the mistake, and then like you said, I think we passed them, and then I lost track of somewhere where they were between like making sure you were good and trying to manage the situation that we were, and what we were trying to do, that I didn't know where Anthony was. And after Kenny gave me the little flick, I'm like, all right, well, I'll go see where Anthony is. Maybe I can help him out. And then,
so like a half an hour after you did that, Anthony came by me.
Oh, wow. I didn't know. Cause I crossed the finish line and I asked Brenda, I'm like, how many were up the road? And she's like, you're the first one to finish. And I was like, huh? I was like, really?
Yeah.
And then I spoke to Anthony afterwards, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we made like 5 wrong turns."
Yeah. Yeah. No, he paid for that turn, and then
I think he said his Garmin was telling him to make the same U-turn since like mile 1.
oh yeah. Well, the thing is, we went out and pre-rode the course like a
Yeah.
month before,
Yeah.
and he was running that same route in there, and it kept telling him the wrong directions, and I was like, dude,
Yeah.
you got to download the right route.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I asked him coming down, I was like, you got the right route loaded, right? And he goes, yeah, I think I got the good one in there. And
Yeah.
he did not. He was still running the old
I mean,
route.
I'll be honest. When I saw them blow past the turn, I laughed.
I was like, hey, here's a chance, but yeah, I think that's part of, don't crucify me for saying this, but I think that's the part of the quote unquote spirit of gravel thing that I would say I kind of like.
Getting lost in the adventure.
Was that things like that can happen in the race. That if you haven't taken the time to know the course or load the correct route or do whatever, that's to me is race prep. So if you don't have all that done, then that's what you get.
Yeah. Oh, you're exactly right.
And that doesn't happen in a road race. You wouldn't want that to happen in a road race. You want the right indicators.
Happens.
But you don't want that to happen in a road race.
Yeah.
So but I think that's the quote unquote spirit of gravel side for me, even though it is a race. So I don't know. I've changed a lot in the last few years.
Apparently.
So anyway, that was gravel. It was a great race. I had a great day. Yeah. We got back early and then spent the rest of the time hanging out with everybody.
Yeah, it's a good event. Rick and his crew do real well with it. Hopefully, it can grow in the future. I mean, it brings people from out of state.
A lot of people,
like hitters from out of state. Yeah. So, and don't be mistaken, that course is hard. Like
so hard.
The gravel is thick and it's chunky and it's it's not like anything that we have in our immediate area.
Yeah, it is so thick.
It's legit.
It is thick, and I hear that's really good.
That's thick with 2 C's,
and very soft, so you slide all over the place. It just absorbs every bit of energy. Outside of that, there's no shade anywhere there, and so if it's a warm day, it is just soul sucking.
Oh yeah, I remember when I got done. I remember thinking when I was riding back to my to the venue area, I'm like, this is way hotter than it seemed like it was.
Yeah. I don't know what the temperature actually said for the day, but I think my my computer recorded over 100.
Yeah, I think I talked to I think Strat said he got like heat stroke.
Yeah,
him and Dash got like heat stroke or something like that, and I was like, I don't doubt it, man.
That's happened to me out there many times before. Yeah. Like when I think of the hottest rides I've ever done, it's that ride on multiple different years.
Yeah, there's zero shade.
It's like all that sun just reflects off of the white limestone, and it just
the only shade is when you go to the water stop.
Yeah. Well, there's one section. You're going down a little hill and you cross over a bridge, and then there's some soft gravel that comes up to an intersection. There are trees that line that. And that is the only section of shade the entire course. And I remember it vividly.
I don't remember that.
Because the second you go into it, every time I go into it on that course, I just go, ah. And then it comes out. And then you go over the crossing with the cops and everything. But anyway, so that's gravel, which leads us to the next iteration, cyclocross. Cyclocross, say whatever you want. Cross is coming. Cross is whatever. Cross is here. It is here. It is ready.
It will be here in a few weeks.
Yes. Preparation should be well underway for most people if you are planning on doing a cyclocross season. If you're not sure whether or not you want to do a cyclocross season and you think you may just want to dabble, by all means, dabble. Probably one of the easiest disciplines to dabble in if you're thinking about it, in my opinion.
Yeah, agree.
Why are you giving me that look? You don't agree? You don't think it's appropriate to dabble?
Well,
no, I think. Proceed. I'll keep my thoughts to myself.
No, I want to hear this.
No, I don't. I think cyclocross. If you want to experience it and just ride around a track and have fun, yeah. But if you want to like race it, it's hard.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But it's like any discipline. There's many different levels you can get into.
But
fun. I will say, say you're right off the street and you ride fast. You think you ride fast and you've done some group rides and you feel okay on them, and you're going to go and try racing, and you have your choice on cyclocross or road. I would highly advise you to try cyclocross first if
Oh,
you're choosing
yeah.
between the two, because road is going to kick
Yeah.
your ass and demoralize you in 5 seconds. Whereas cross will be one of the hardest things you've ever done,
So, okay.
but
All right, all
you're
right.
still going to get scored. You're not going to get pulled early, odds are. You could. But, you're still going to get scored. You're going to finish it, and you're going to feel like that's the hardest thing I ever did. And I can see how I can get incrementally better for the next race, which is great. Road, you're going to get lapped, you're going to get pulled, and you're going to feel like there's absolutely nothing I can do to get better between now and the next race. But if you like
Speak for
road, you're going to
yourself.
keep coming out and getting smacked. Well, okay, in your first race?
I want it.
Well, okay.
Yeah, so suck on that egg, Curtis.
There are some things I could say right now, but I'm just not going to do it because I don't want to incite riots amongst all the haters. Yeah. Well, it's not like that for most people that try road, I would
I
say.
know. I'm being a little bit of a smart
So if
ass,
you're
but
looking
yeah,
to
no.
dabble in some form of racing, I would highly encourage you to try cyclocross.
Cyclocross is a lot more
Friendly.
There's a lot of people around. It's consolidated into one small area. It's you can
You'll have a good time for sure.
you can be anywhere from a completer to a full-on type A racer and have a great day, and everybody in between can have a great day. So,
that used to be the sales sign for gravel.
right. In a sense, except that you are around a ton of people
Right.
all the time.
And it doesn't take
like gravel,
14
where you're
hours.
not out in the middle of nowhere. Right.
Yep.
The races are short. They are hard as hell if you are trying to go fast.
And if you're in our area, almost all of them are within an hour drive.
Yeah. So it's a super easy entry into bike racing. And you have a lot of variability in what bikes you can start with. You don't have to have a special racing cyclocross bike. You can use a mountain bike.
Any bike.
If you don't like your teeth, you can do it on a road bike.
I've seen people race cyclocross on road pedals with road shoes before.
Yeah, well,
very uncomfortable, very hard to dismount and jump things, but
yeah,
it's doable. Yeah, cyclocross is the embodiment of run what you brung.
Yep.
And I do like that.
Yeah.
But this with 38 millimeter tubulars and all this, coming up nowadays, and the push being run what you brung, and then other people on the other side being classic, stick to what cyclocross is. And the whole point of cyclocross is it's not about what the best technology is to get around that course. It's about getting around that course best with the technology that's allowed to get around that course. That's part of the sport of it on the high end, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So UCI requires you to run 33s. You're allowed to run disc brakes, what have you. But that's where we're at. But on the low side, I still say it's run what you brung. Run your gravel bike, run your 45 millimeter tires or 50 millimeter tires. Who cares? Get out there and run it. And I think for me, I've said it on here many times, but for me, the nice intersection of that is when you get to a Cat 3 level. Once you get through Cat 4s and you upgrade to a Cat 3, now it's time to run the right equipment. That's my opinion. Yes? No?
That makes sense.
Depends on how serious you are about it and where you want to go from a Cat 3. If you just want to marinate in Cat 3, you don't have to change your equipment.
You don't have to change your equipment, but I'm saying if you're chasing this, want to race it as it's quote unquote meant to be raced, then I say by the time you get to Cat 3, you run the right equipment.
Yeah, you definitely want to make improvements to your equipment as you as you better your category for sure, because chances are everyone you're lining up with has done the same thing, and it's only fair that you have better equipment if you can afford it. Now,
it's harder.
I will say that I think it's more important that you have a developed skill set versus the best equipment out there. The best equipment's not going to help you win. What will help you do better is your ability to handle a cyclocross bike or whatever bike you have on a cyclocross course. Period.
What do you think is the best way to develop that?
Practice. You got to practice. the way you get better at anything you do in life is practice. Practice until you're sick of it, and then practice some more.
Okay, well, so people are going out.
The fundamentals, you got to do the basics really well.
So people are going out and they're starting this.
Yeah.
They're starting practices. They're starting to get out and get in the park and do whatever they're going to do. Grab your bike, go to a field, go to a local park, go somewhere where they've got a hill or off camber or something else like that. What would you recommend as 2, 3, 4 drills everyone should do to practice?
I would say not in any order, but you should learn how to clip in. Okay, let's assume that you go out there and you're on clipless pedals. Okay, you should learn how to clip in so you don't fumble around at the start.
Not just starters, not just
Are you talking about beginners?
Not just beginners.
Just anybody.
If anybody's going to go out and run,
I would say learn how to get your starts dialed in. I would say learn how to get on and off your bike, because you're going to be doing that on any course that you race in cyclocross, for whatever muddy conditions or hill conditions that you don't have fitness to make it up. Learn how to get off and on your bike in an efficient way. Cornering is another one, is a major one. And then like a fourth one would be, if you really wanted to try to increase your skill set, would be to bunny hop, but that can come later on down the line. As long as you know how to get on and off your bike, the next step would be to how do I do this efficiently over a set of barriers. But for me, when I do go and participate in little, quote unquote clinics in our area, I just start out with the basics. Like, okay, let's see. We're gonna run next to our bike for 5 minutes, basic, and just see how everyone does. Okay, now we're going to try to run and get back on our bike and see how many people fall over on their bike and can't mount their bike properly. And I just take it from a real beginner basic level, because the only way you can get good and excel at, in my opinion, at what cyclocross requires, is to do the little things really, really well, to the point where you can just do it in your sleep, and you have to start. And even this is for me, even racing since 2016 and the level that I try to achieve every year for cyclocross, when I go out and start to practice for the upcoming season, I start out with the basics. Like, I work for a half hour just getting on and off, on and off, on and off, on and off, on and off. I run around a goalpost, get back on. I just take it back to the basic level. And when I got into it, I didn't ask for help. I didn't search out help. I learned it all on my own. I watched a ton of videos and I just studied what people did. And I was like, okay, this is what I need to do. And I just went out and did it over and over and over. And that's what I stick to this day. I don't just go out and like, oh, I'm going to set up my 20-inch, I haven't ridden my cross bike in 9 months. I'm just going to go fire off some bunny hops. I don't do that, because you've been riding all sorts of different bikes all year. You have to get used to your equipment again. It's a completely different bike setup. There's so many layers that go into riding cyclocross well, that you'd be a fool just to start off and think you can pick up where you left off last season. And even if you go to any of the clinics, like I'm sure Meyerson puts on a clinic in the East Coast with his Cycle Smart team, and I'm sure they don't start off with the highest of high level. They start out with the very basics. So that's what you got to do, no matter if you're an accomplished and good cyclocross racer, or a beginner, because there's always some little nugget of information that somebody does that you never have thought about in your life. And my point is, I was helping some people out last year locally, and we were working on starts. And my message to them, because I've thought about this a million times over, every single year I start cyclocross, I practice again, is where your pedal positioning is and how you position your pedal to get engaged in the foot that you have on the ground. And so many people were like, I never even thought about that. Well, I did, and I'm here to share it with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the little things, the little, like,
It is.
the proper gear to start in, depending on where you're starting on the course. And, you know, I could write a book about this, but I'm not gonna.
I will say that you should write a book about it.
No.
I will say that the practices that we've done, that I've led, at times, I've always picked up something. And one of the key things is we always do starts. We'll always practice starts, and we'll do like 5 of them, or we'll go in waves, and you have a wave of 4 go off, and then they circle around. You come back, do another 4. And whenever we've done that, everyone who does it ends up having a stellar start the next race that they do. Always.
Yeah, but that's got to continue.
Right. They have to. And like, so my son, when he was still racing, he was always getting kind of lackluster stuff. We practiced starts like 3 weeks in a row. And next thing you know, he was in second and third place for the last few races of the year. Then from that point on, when he was racing Cat 5, and he did great. He ended up on a podium at one point.
Yeah.
And it's like, dang, and it's because he told me that before that, he would always be so far back at the start after everybody starts going that he just, what's he doing? He just kind of ride around the park and take a look at everything. But then when he actually had good starts, he was like, I actually have a shot here, and would actually focus on it and concentrate.
It's so funny in that respect. Like, cyclocross is so, how can I say it? It's funny because you can have you can have your front row. That's all that they're dialed in. Their skills are good, but everyone in the front row stinks at doing something.
Oh yeah.
Right. No one nails everything in cyclocross on the front row all the time. Not even the professionals. They mess up all the time. It's just the given nature of what you have, what's required in cyclocross. But the guys in, rows 3, 4, 5, they might not have all of the fundamentals down, but they can navigate through a pack because that's where they're used to riding, and they know how to ride around people, and they know how to pass people and pass people safely. And they know how to do some of those things that maybe the guys that race at the front of the race don't know how to do so good. So it's a nice mixture of skill sets within those categories. And obviously, as you progress into, Cat 3, Cat 2, Cat 1, whatever, everybody's kind of on the same level or exist in the same bubble. Some do things much better than others, but it's a nice mixed bag in those lower categories.
Yeah, it's I see that every time I race, for sure. The disheartening thing, I always had starts. I could always do starts well, but it's gotten to the point where I would do starts well, but there's so many people and so many rows in front of me that I have to just blow through them in the starts, and then they spend the rest of the race just working their way around me, and it ends up becoming a pain in the ass for everybody. Towards the end of the year last year, I stopped trying on starts. I was just like, they blow the whistle, and it feels like it's like 10 or seconds before it gets back to me, my row actually going. If I were to actually go forward on the whistle, I would blow through like 6 rows, because they just don't go that quickly.
Try that this year.
I've done it, and this year I actually probably will, because I'm in better shape and I can actually race them.
Yeah, you have the fitness to do it.
But
get in there and chew on that stem, Bobby.
I've heard that somewhere.
No, that's what's great, and that's what I love about cyclocross is it's a real sense, like, whether you do well at it and get a place on the podium or whatever, just to progress in the skill set, from practice. Practicing a skill set is one thing. Anybody can do a skill set slowly, repetitively, and get it dialed. Now putting that into a race scenario is a different story. When you're doing it, do the same skill early in a race consistently, that's great. That feels like a win. Now do the same skill set you did in practice and early in the race in the last third of your race when you're tired, and do it well. That's a whole nother level, right? That's why I always laugh, like, when people blow up social media with like bunny hopping things, and it's like, I don't really care about this, because when I watch you on TV, you run the barriers. You'll never do this. You'll never put this into your practice for whatever reason. So bunny hopping a barrier in minute 5 is way different than bunny hopping a barrier in the 55th minute when you're bleeding out your eyes and you're tired and your arms are heavy and your legs are heavy and so to be able to do all those things well for an entire length of your race, that is an accomplishment. From minute 1 to minute 30 or 40 or 45 or whatever, event you're in, to do all the things cyclocross encompasses well, that is a good feeling.
I'm just excited.
It's not easy to do.
I can't wait. I actually wish I was going to cross practice tonight, but my wife had to have a birthday.
There'll be other ones.
I know. Other wives or other cross practices?
If you got other wives, that's your problem, Clark.
No, not gonna happen.
No, yeah, I'm actually. I took a step back after nationals were here and didn't race it for a while. I did a couple events last year, and now I'm actually eager for it. I've had time to miss it and miss the fun of it, and set myself some new challenges, and just like have fun racing again.
Yeah, I can't wait to have fun racing. I am so excited for racing this year. I'm actually going to travel, I think, to do races. You're going to travel to do races, yes?
I'm going to do a few. Yeah. Not sure which ones yet. I have some ideas roughly penciled into my brain.
That makes it sound like you haven't been taking it seriously. You have been talking about this nonstop for probably 2 weeks.
Yeah, you just asked me for advice today.
Pretty much for hours, discussing in detail each race for hours.
You talked to your coach about it. I heard that
well,
earlier.
I don't want to carve things into stone just yet, and which races just yet. The last time I did a full cyclocross season, the last time I did nationals was 2009.
Damn.
I did it in 07, 08,
long
09.
overdue.
I know. And then I think I was racing cross locally here, and at some point, I want to say in maybe 2012 or 13, shortly after I started on Simon, where I was just like, it's too much on me physically to race a whole road season and a whole cross season.
You went more years than I think you realize, because you went all the way up until the year, in my opinion, you went all the way up until the year when you dislocated your shoulder or broke your collarbone or whatever it was. That big injury you got with the big...
I had a separated AC joint. Yeah. So I want to say that was 2015. So
that's around then
so
is when you were like,
around then, right?
I'm doing one or the other.
Yeah, and I was like, I still dabble in and jump in some cross races, So I've been very on the fence of, do I want to just do that plan again this year? But I think what I have found is that I like having a goal to work toward, and I don't want to spend the next 4 months, 5 months just doing zone 2 and base. I was like, I want to have, I like doing all that, especially in like,
there's a time and a place for it.
December, January, February, where I'm building that base. I like that.
I'm checking my record, and I'm pretty sure that's all I've done this year is zone 2.
I don't know. So I have a lot of, what I'm trying to do right now is do a lot of research for, if I start getting into the season and I do 2 or 3 races and I'm having fun and I like it and my body is responding well, and that's going to be the big thing for me.
That's the thing I was going to bring up,
is the impact of cyclocross tends to create a lot of like little mini injuries for me that make it really just not practical. I think I have the knowledge and the tools for how to take care of my body better now than I ever did. Thanks to everything that I've learned from my trainer. Also, if I take more of a like minimal racing approach instead of trying to race every single weekend, I think I might be able to actually put together a season. So we'll see.
That should be your goal.
Nice.
Put together a season.
That is a great goal to have, I think. And I'm
and who knows?
excited
maybe I'll toe the line in Louisville. Maybe I won't. And if I don't, it's like,
who cares?
Whatever.
It's next year.
At least it's something for me to chew on mentally and plan for.
Do we happen to know where it is after Louisville?
They'll probably announce it at Louisville.
Okay. I didn't know for sure. If
my guess is it's going to go either east or
or
northwest?
northwest. I would say more
Probably
northwest.
northwest.
That would be my
They'll
guess.
go back to the, what is it, Steltacoon or Steelecom or Steely Dan Park or whatever.
Now,
Steely
keep in
Coo.
mind,
Stupid poop.
as far as USA Cycling is concerned,
Is that Tapegate where Kerry lost?
Oh, yeah,
his crown.
Yeah.
Should have won that.
As far as USA Cycling is concerned, it's hard to explain this politically, but there is a real push for them to bring Texas into the fold, so to speak. And it is in the fold. It is in the.
We did Austin.
Yeah, and it's not unheard of. But I wouldn't be surprised if it ended up in Texas, or I don't want to say Arkansas, because it better not end up in Arkansas.
What are they going to do? Have it on the world's course and tear it down?
Right.
They tore
I think
that,
they tore that
did
down.
they tear that down? Yeah. What a joke.
I hope they
we
don't
can
have
go
it
back
in
to
Arkansas.
Austin and piss off all the tree people.
That's right. That was the tree issue.
Didn't they do it? They did it in North Carolina one year.
Yeah,
didn't
a
they?
couple years.
Asheville?
Yeah, 2 years in Nashville, I believe.
I don't care.
What, 2 years? I don't know. We did at one point. We had the same conversation. I went back and I looked it up, and
Oh yeah.
We remembered all of them. But that
All
kind
the way
of
back to like
yeah.
2002.
But they all blend together when you've been doing this for a while. So, don't know where it's going to go. I would agree with you. I think Pacific Northwest, or maybe in the South somewhere, South or Southwest, which would be, I don't know, weird, because it would be warm. And apparently, cyclocross is in the Olympics now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
2030.
Going to be the first cyclocross in the Olympics, and it is in the Winter Olympics.
Mm-hmm. It went from like rumor to it's confirmed.
Yeah,
pretty much.
I heard that in the last few weeks. So,
Good.
The racing we've been watching has been amazing. I love Tour de France Femmes was great.
Oh yeah,
man, that was good.
I didn't get as much of it as everybody else did on the last stage. I don't think, because everybody's like, "Oh, it's the most amazing thing in the world." I was just like,
I mean, 4 seconds, you can't knock that.
That's true. I mean, closest tour that I know of.
The drama was there.
Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't. I see it and I recognize that. I wasn't in it in the minute that I was watching it. After the fact, it's more reflecting on me, and I'm going, "Yeah, no, that was really cool."
Dude, women's racing is way better than men's.
Oh, I don't disagree at all. I agree in that wholeheartedly. At least in my opinion, right now, and what I like to watch, I would rather watch women's racing.
Yeah.
So, I'm voting with my clicker. But who cares? No one watches any racing anyway. So.
I always get excited when I watch when you see somebody that I know from cyclocross that is now so watching Puck do really well.
Watching Puck meters in that bike throw in that one stage. I was like, is that Puck? Is that Puck? Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's the new normal.
And then I got pissed, because then I was like, she better come back to cyclocross. Between her and Shariva and Roy.
Yeah.
Dude, they're doing these races now just to get a feel for what upper level road racing feels like. There's no way they're going to.
And then eventually they're going to do like what Wout does, where he doesn't do great in cross anymore, and he has a great, a mediocre road season.
But these girls are at a young enough age to where they can do both still. What do Wout and Matthew have left to accomplish in cyclocross? Absolutely nothing. Matthew wants the world's record, which he'll get. Wout's probably like, he just uses it to stay in shape and not gain some weight over the winter.
He uses it all the way to the bank.
Well, whatever. I mean, you get appearance fee. Why not?
Yeah.
I
I wouldn't know about that, but I hear, and as for what Mathieu is learning, he's learning how to invest money at this point.
So if people don't follow, if people are on Strava, follow Wout van Aert on Strava. It's so fun following these guys.
Podium to bus.
He posted 0.73 miles, podium to bus, uphill this time. That's a smiley face. I mean, it's just cute. It's fun because you can actually a lot of the pros post their stuff.
Oh, we're certainly I think we're in the age of the multiple disciplinary athlete.
Yeah,
and at least in cycling.
And I do like that. I'm glad we're back
refreshing.
to that. The specialization period, I absolutely despised.
I think what's her name? PFP. She won the Olympics in mountain biking and said, "I'm done with mountain biking." That was her goal, her biggest goal. Now she signed for Visma Lease a Bike Women, and her goal is now the Tour de France.
Yeah, Yeah.
So
And she
it'll
wins
be
everything
exciting.
she tries. So
Yeah.
that should be,
Yeah.
that'll be interesting.
So,
All right. Well, we're 10 seconds to an hour. That's awesome.
Perfect.
So we'll wrap
can
this
you
up.
believe it?
It's nice. No, I can't believe it. It's nice to be back on.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for joining us. Hopefully everybody's listening. Like and share if you got any comments or anything you'd like for us to hear. Send us an email at roadisdead, all one word, roadisdead@gmail.com. Once again, roadisdead@gmail.com. This program and series, of course, I don't want to say sponsored by because I think that carries connotations within all these places where we advertise and put the stuff. But this show is made possible by Cymet Wheels and Buttonhole Chamois Cream. By all means, if you don't use chamois cream, why don't you try it? Go out and check out the Buttonhole Chamois Cream at your local dealer. If you can't find it at a dealer, you can always call us. We can ship it to you directly, or you can find it on online sellers usually and try it there. But of course, we prefer you to go to your local bike shop and pick it up there. If they don't have it there, ask for it by name. Most shops have access to it through a myriad of different solutions, and they can always call us directly if they would like. So keep us in mind when you're choosing your next chamois cream. We'd deeply appreciate it. Also, it's been a while since we've done it, but there are multiple people out there that can say, hey, I got a free jar of chamois cream. So we're going to say what, the third, fourth, fifth person?
From where? What's our number range?
So,
give us a range, Rob.
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. It's not like we get hundreds of emails. So
how many emails have we got? When the last time you checked, how many emails?
Well, for the last contest, we probably got 15 or so.
15. Okay, a number from 1 to 15. Leah, go.
6.
There you go.
Okay, so the sixth person who sends an email to roadisdead@gmail.com, starting from today, which is 8/22. You will receive a free jar of chamois cream. But be sure, please, to give me your shipping address in that email so we don't have to go back and forth like four more times.
I'm just going to take it.
Or I might just announce on the air that you want it, but we couldn't figure out where to send it. So you would think that was 1 and 1, that would make sense. But I get it. People just want to throw it in and go, hey, did I win? And then they expect it back to be asked where to ship it.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. So with that in mind, please go out and enjoy your bicycle in any way that you feel is appropriate during this next week. And hopefully you will enjoy the ride. Thanks for joining us.